Yeah, this is gonna be a train wreck.
It's gonna be great.
Okay. What do you mean? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was holding it, I was waiting for you and then I put it down.
Thank you.
All right.
Are we good now?
Yeah, sorry.
All right. Call the meeting of the board of directors for ErieNet. Roll call. Thomas Baines. I don't have to read these.
No, you can say he was here and then just announce him absent.
Martha Byers. Dan Castle. Here. Mark Cornell.
Here.
Elizabeth Priest.
Here.
Jeremy Toad.
Here.
John Mills.
Here.
And we have other attendees, Melissa Hartman and Matt Price in attendance. So we have quorum. Can I have a motion to approve the draft minutes for Tuesday, November 19th, 2024 board meeting? Mark, motion. Second. Second, Dan Castle.
Hold on.
And these minutes are from the.
Yeah, it should, this is wrong on the agenda. I apologize. This is for the January meeting.
Oh.
I didn't catch that. Sorry. January, so just announce it's for the January 28th, 2025
So
or 21st. Sorry, January 21st, 2025.
do another motion or just amend the motion?
Amend it.
Reflect that it's
It was the 28th, we pushed it back.
Great.
20,
Even better. Yep. Thank you.
2020.
That needs to be fixed in the minute.
All approved? Okay, report of the chair. There is no report of the chair. Moving on to the executive director's report.
Real quick, who did the motion for that?
For Mark Cornell.
Yeah,
I did the original.
And Dan Castle.
Dan did the second.
thanks. Okay, so the financial report is attached. It was not ready from the accountants on Friday when we sent this over to you. So they are in your packet. No big changes. We did do another investment similar to the month prior, a little over 2 million. We took part of that out, I believe 500,000 to the bank. We're contemplating another, we have a maturity coming up on Thursday for about 2.1 million. We're looking over our financials right now to see what we'll withdraw, but the interest rates are still very good. We're at 4.1%. And so, each one we're making anywhere between 65,000 to about 90,000, depending upon the month, but we're doing pretty well on those maturities, which is really good. So we'll do Matt's update in a second, his report. So the legislative efforts, as you recall, we talked a little bit about this last month, but we had a report, oh my gosh, where am I going here? We had a law that was passed by the legislature in New York State for real property tax exemption. It was then vetoed by the governor. We were supposed to have chapter amendments, and then it was going to be resubmitted, and that process failed somewhere. So we are in the process, and I'm not involved, and ErieNet's really not involved, but Erie County is in the process of working with the governor's office as well as Senator Ryan and Assemblyman John Rivera, who were the original sponsors, to amend the original legislation. It's basically asking pretty much the same thing, real property tax exemption. It'll be for Erie County only, which was what was agreed upon in the legislative originally when the bill passed. So that should be resubmitted shortly. They're working on language changing. I can't be involved in that process, so I just have to update, but we're hoping that will be put through and successful for this year's legislative process. And from what we're hearing, it should be. So that's the update. Once we hear something more, I'll let the board know. We are working currently on our ABO and Paris reports, which are annual reports that the authority requires us to submit. It will also be a part of our annual meeting. You'll get a book, remember last year, our annual report. That'll be what we submit for the most part. I mean, it's a version of it. We'll submit a smaller version of that, whatever's required. So we are in the process of working through that, and we'll have all the updates to you, and we should we are on par. We don't see any reason why we would be able to submit by the March 31st deadline next month. So you should have received your survey. I don't remember who was slow to do that last time, but the quicker you get that survey in, the quicker we can update that into it is a requirement of our ABO and our annual report. So please make sure that you take some time to submit that. It is confidential. We can see that you've done it, but we can't see what your specific answers are. So if you could get that in, that would be great. We can get that piece marked off. So for the 2025 annual meeting, which is next month, 1 month from today, March 18th, it's going to be similar to last year, but slightly different. So it's going to be a longer day, especially if you're on a committee. So the committee and the Audit and Finance Committee, as well as the governance committees, will be meeting at 12 p.m. on that day. We'll be meeting downstairs here where we are now. One of the committees will meet in this room, and another committee will meet across the hall. We will be providing lunch. So, because it's kind of a bad time, but we'll be providing lunch to everyone. And in your committees, you'll have specific things. We'll do an audit review. We're currently in the audit process, and we'll have our auditors here from Drescher and Malecki that will present the audit to the Audit and Finance Committee. They'll make a recommendation then, if they're satisfied with the audit, to move that to approval for the board. The governance committee is working on just some slight changes, and then also a new video conferencing policy that they'll be recommending for review to you as well, for that to be approved at the annual meeting. We'll have drafts that go out for both of those to the board ahead of time, so you'll be able to see everything. So those committee meetings will meet at noon right here. And then we will have the member meeting at 1 o'clock. The member meeting is with the county executive. He's a sole member and he's required to do a meeting a year. Last year he did it kind of during the formalized general public presentation. This year he's going to be doing one in here with just our board. Public obviously is invited if they are at every meeting, but it will be done in this room, not at the public meeting presentation. So that'll be done at 1 o'clock. At 1:30, we'll do kind of the public presentation, which is where we'll have our, members of the public will be invited. We'll have the legislature will be invited. Everyone who was invited last year. We had members of municipalities that were here. We had some legislature, Senate, and we had some federal. I think Kirsten Gillibrand's office was here. Congressman Langworthy's office was here. So we'll invite the same people. We'll do a small presentation. A few of us, Matt's group, is going to be doing a presentation on the fiber monitoring system that we're using. It's pretty neat, and it'll be a great time for you guys to see that. And then a couple of our partners that we're doing some federal grant applications with will be here to explain that process. That's the traffic control. Thomas and I will do a small brief presentation of the overview of what we did this past year and what we're looking forward to this coming year. There'll be some refreshments, and then after that public presentation piece is done, we'll move back to this room for our regular board of directors meeting, where we should be hopefully passing the ABO report and our audit reports and such. So it'll be a little bit longer of a day. If you're on a committee, I plan on being here from noon to about 3:30, maybe 3:15, depending upon I don't anticipate our board meeting being that long, but it might be. If you're not on a board, then I would anticipate being here from 1 to about 3:30. And again, if you're on a committee at noon, you'll have lunch. But don't worry, if you're not on a committee, we'll be still serving the ErieNet cookies and some beverages in between the public or around the member meeting and the public presentation. So it should be good. I know that Jason, Keating, and Martha are not available to be here. So please, if everyone else can try their best to make sure that they're here and healthy. We have a lot of sick people, including Courtney right now. John Gilmore is ill. And so it should be good. It should go smoothly again, I hope. And if you have any questions prior, just reach out to me. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up because it is a little bit longer of a day.
We want Fred Norder here for the earlier subcommittees.
I don't think so. We're going over the annual audit. It's a big thing for the Audit and Finance Committee. I don't think he'll need to be here for that, no. Any other questions on that? Okay, Matt?
All right, well, let's do the bad news first and save the good news for last. We're still slogging it out in permitting and make ready. The permitting really is not so much the issue. And many of our permits are somewhat on hold because we're still waiting on utility make ready sign off, because that will identify who our contractor is on the county and city permits. So, and then once we identify that, the county's been very good about turning those around pretty quickly. We got some more DOT permits in, so that log jam is doing better. And we got 5 new railroad permits finished today. Got some stuff in the mail, so that's good. Under the utilities, things were going very well with NYSEG, but they had a slowdown on the make-ready construction contractors because NYSEG had reached their outage limits. And so they got very aggressive about any pole replacement that took longer than 5 or 10 minutes. I think maybe it was 10 minutes. But that's a very unrealistic number. Pole replacements take more like 20 to 30 minutes. And so basically they said, well, come January 1st, the clock resets, the budgets are more forgiving. And so they have, and now our contractors are mobilized again. And we really see in the NYSEG territory, and if you think it's mostly the eastern half of Erie County, and grid is all of the city of Buffalo and the towns south of the city. We think that if you look at the make ready construction, item 2 under D, NYSEG make ready construction, we have 2,500 poles that have been awarded to contractors. So we have crews out there making the poles ready for ErieNet fiber. Those will be completed. And again, it's weather dependent. We don't have many going on this week right now. But we think those poles will clear in, like we've been talking about, in March and even more so in April. We think probably the earliest we can get into NYSEG territory with CLW ErieNet fiber installation is going to be very late March after the March board meeting. But we could make the last week of March. And again, we're targeting the town of Clarence, Boston, and Springville. There's a corridor, and it's just the way the make ready is shaking out. Those towns are coming up quicker. Again, you'll see that we have 1,400 polls or 16 applications that are pending a quote. That's where we go out and we solicit from our dozen or so utility contractors what their price is for each of these applications. It's not that we don't have their quote. It could be we have their quote, but we're waiting on a DOT permit or a county permit. And so that's holding it from moving into the next category of awarded construction. So we see those 1,400 getting awarded soon. And so the ones that we already know about, we think by April we'll have about 150 miles of pole line that we can start constructing. And then when those other 1,400, and this is back of the envelope, but 20 poles per mile. It varies, it can be more like 25, 26. So there could be another 60 or 70 miles on top of that. So we could be in the 200 plus, half, which is most of the NYSEG, right? So that's the good news. Some good news with grid. It's frustrating. We all had a group call with grid on Thursday, Melissa and I and my ECC team. and Dan and Thomas joined the call. And you can kind of see it in bullet 2 and 3 of the grid. We have 800 poles, 12 applications, or excuse me, I'm sorry, bullets 3 and 4. We have 582 poles, 15 applications that fall within what they call prior existing conditions, PECs, or a pole violation. And of those, there's 26 poles that are in contention. Now, that number back in our last meeting 3 weeks ago was more like 1,600. So what we did is we separated out the difficult applications and that have the 26 problematic poles. And so what we've been able to move is another 1,000 poles, and I think it's 13 applications, into what we call Verizon concurrence, which is the next step. Grid signs off on the work that has to be done, as does Verizon, but then it goes, because Verizon's a joint owner, then they have to officially sign off on the application as well. So these 2373s, they move through the process faster. Can be anywhere from 30 to 90 days. To move all of these, it's going to take all of 90 days to move these violations. Then once they get into that last bullet, that's when Leidos produces GIS sketches, and between the GIS sketches and the pole survey data, that's what we release out to our contractors to bid on. So again, the strategy for our construction is we start in NYSEG. I've been saying March. I might technically make a March date, but it'll be late March. But in April, we'll have CLW crews in NYSEG territory. And we'll have, at that point, accumulated, somewhere in the 150-mile range. And, that'll keep several CLW crews busy while the rest of the NYSEG work comes forward, and for grid to start releasing their poles. We really need to get this network built by October 1st, and I'll explain why in just a minute.
And I would say, Matt, even on our Leidos call this morning, these numbers are probably even on the national grid, might even be updated, because there were some things maybe after you got off where they moved some of it along.
This is Thursday's data. It's now Tuesday.
Yeah.
Every week more applications get processed.
Yeah, it sounded like they had quite a few that maybe moved on. Yeah.
So we're getting movement. It's not as fast as we want, but it is moving. And we're every day making calls, following up on action items. Underground construction, we're waiting on, we had city permits, some city permits in. Then we had to revise those permits to include traffic control plans. They have been submitted last week. So again, I don't think the city is not turning them around quick enough. It would have been nice to know about the traffic control plan.
Right, because we submitted these.
Earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, then they asked us to resubmit it.
Right.
Then we resubmitted it, and then they said, oh, by the way, and there's nothing on their permit applications that indicate traffic control plan. Every city application, whether you're doing 1 block or 10, has to have a traffic control plan. So now we're doing that. I don't think the city's holding us up at this point, because we have all the grid utility work to get through in front of them. But,
So that delay is not, it doesn't.
it helps the city. It's a thing
Right now, we still.
We'd still be waiting.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So the connection to the Buffalo Convention Center, that's from the Rath Building to the Convention Center?
Yes. Yes.
How long will that take once they get started?
Well, once they start, it'll be quick. It's only
idea.
a couple blocks.
I know, so I'm trying to get a sense of what timing they should expect.
The convention center?
June,
June?
so I don't know. I mean, if it's gotta be expedited, it might get done a little quicker.
What they have coming up.
Yeah. Well, they re-signed,
Story, yeah.
they re-signed with Spectrum for 1 year
Okay.
because of the disco event, and they absolutely had to have more bandwidth for that event. And so they did. They signed up for that. So really, the ErieNet fiber probably wouldn't be turned on, or at least we wouldn't be charging them for it until
I think October.
November.
Yeah, October.
All right.
Anything else on utilities, my favorite subject? And Dan, because you were on the call Thursday, we are clarifying what we heard versus what we heard from Leidos this morning. There's gray. So I want it in writing from them as to exactly what their expectation is. Right, so not a lot of operations to talk about yet. Our lit service partner, NetSync, Andrew and I are working on getting them an agreement. NetSync will be in town next week to meet Melissa and I and my chief technology consultant, Corey, for more detailed planning for rolling out that service. That's next Tuesday. And that dovetails in nicely to sales and marketing. We have not had any formal communication with the Buffalo Erie County Library, other than, our sales guy, Greg Hooper, has been reaching out daily, and was last told that it would be announced at the next board meeting, and this was last week. They told them this, so next meant February.
I think it's this week.
This
It's around
Thursday.
Thursday.
Then it's this coming Thursday or next Thursday?
No, this
coming
Thursday.
Thursday. If they meant by next, meaning March, it would be 30 days out, but I think it almost has to be for E-rate reasons, because they have to take that proposal and then they have to submit what's called a 471 that basically tells the Universal Service Commission, USAC, that they're moving forward with a service. And so I don't know if anyone else, Melissa, you haven't heard anything updated on that. So,
It's just that it's on their agenda.
so we'll have to, we're waiting patiently to hear. City of Buffalo, I have not pressed them hard on their IRU because I wanted to get a little further along in our build. But probably after I hear about the library, I want to talk to Daryl as to, does he want to pursue anything besides the fiber?
Like lit service.
The managed service option. I think Daryl's biggest, he would like everything. He has not much budget to work with. So I'm not sure how he's gonna handle that. Erie One, BOCES, our priority bill is to the convention center and to the BTC. We have both Erie One BOCES and University of Buffalo. They want to go from 350 Main across from the Rath building down to the BTC building. So that's a priority route. And we talked to Pat Doyle, Liz, and he said that you have some flexibility as to when that data service. We've been targeting July 1st. We think we still have a shot at July 1st, but we might need a month or two. And he said he could go on a month to month, or maybe you're already in a month to month situation on that circuit. So we appreciate the flexibility there. Same with the university, they had a change in their management, and I know the right people now that I'm supposed to follow up with. So trying to get them, basically what I'm telling them is we're coming close to the point where we have to build their part of the network. And I have to have an agreement in order to build the network out there. So that's my care. And the good news, Erie County IRU. So, Mr. Breeden, I don't know if you have to recuse yourself.
I do have to recuse myself for this.
For this discussion?
You just,
Does it?
No, I don't think that's.
Yeah,
Should I just say, listen,
I've been saying,
Well, we've already told you all this anyway.
I believe that's the policy.
Oh, yeah, I guess you do have to leave the room.
oh,
That's the policy. I believe that's in.
now who's gonna read, if I have to, I mean, because the motion's gonna come up for this. Do I,
Jeremy will have to read it.
Jeremy's gonna have to read them, not now, but not later, so. Yeah.
But here's the thing, we're not doing it.
There's nothing but nice things to say.
It's usually.
Out here.
It's freezing.
Yeah, that's for second here.
So we've been able to simplify this proposal.
Which, are we talking about
We're
resolution
talking-
2503?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So at one point, we thought maybe we needed 3 or 4 different proposals, 3 or 4 different agreements. And working through it, one proposal, one agreement. The proposal that you have, and Melissa and Courtney included the proposal after the ECC notes. Here. Follows the resolution, I think, follows back.
No, it follows your report.
Follows the ECC report, excuse me. This is the actual draft, I guess I'd call it a draft proposal, because we can't formally propose to Erie County until the board gives us a resolution to move forward with this, but obviously we've had discussions with county IT and Mike Breeden, the CIO, as to what the service entails, budget required and all that. So we'll, if the resolution moves forward, our next step would be to give a formal proposal to Mike to then present to the county. So what we have is a 20-year dark fiber IRU, and that will connect 71 Erie County facilities. 52 of the facilities, which are sewer, emergency service towers, and all the locations that Mike has to deliver county network to, they're on one sub network of fiber. And then there's a second network that connects the 19 PSATs. 2 strands of fiber for the PSAT network in a ring, and 2 strands of fiber for the larger county network. But it's all one proposal, one agreement. It's all coming out of one county budget. So Mike liked having the numbers prorated so he could prorate for departments, but didn't need separate proposals, separate agreements. So that's what I described here, the 37 facilities, 7 sewers, 8 towers, PSAT network. And if you look at the proposal, the fiber costs for these 52 sites, or 71 sites, excuse me, add up to $720,000. That's a one-time right to use the fiber for 20 years. And we've broken that up. And basically, it's 52/71 go to the larger, and 19 divided by 71 is the share for public safety. So we prorated the IRU fee. Now, that's a one-time right to use, but there's still routine maintenance, repair, service, and that's $9,000 a year. So if you divide that $9,000 a year by 71 sites, it works out to be a little bit, $127 per site per month, which I think is a pretty good market rate.
So what you're describing now is sort of the proposal to Erie County.
This is the proposal to Erie County just for the fiber.
Yeah.
Then on the next page is the equipment and services. This is the managed network service. This is what we're engaging NetSIC to act as ErieNet's partner. But as far as the agreement goes, it's an ErieNet service to the subscriber being Erie County. So we have core equipment that the county requires that services all subscribers. And then we have the edge equipment that that's needed for the remote sites. And so if you add all that up, you get again, the larger of the two networks, it's a capital cost of a little over $2 million. For the public safety PSAT network, it's a little over $1 million. So
These are now capital costs.
right. So again,
This whole section is all capital?
no, this piece. So for the managed network service, for the lit service, the county has a little bit more than $3 million in one-time capital costs. That's for buying the equipment, installing the equipment. And then there's monthly recurring charges. And, those add up to about $12,325 a month for both halves of the network. And again, if you divide that out, you'll see that the monthly maintenance is around $175 per site. And so for a 25 gig backbone network where every remote site has the option from 1 to scale to 10 gig for their building network, it's their recurring cost is the 126 for the dark fiber maintenance plus the 175 for the lit service. So it's about $300 a month per site. And if you compare that to other providers, that fares well.
I would say site, that's 71 sites, right?
That's 71 sites.
What about the surcharges and fees?
So,
I mean, some of this is subject to USF.
this is not. This has nothing to do with E-rate. It has nothing to do with internet. This is private network services. So I looked. I tried to find some because I knew you were going to ask me. And I haven't discovered it. And the distinction is, this is not internet service. The county's internet comes across the street from the Rath building directly into Mike's data center. Now, ErieNet may quote him an option on that, and there may be surcharges that all apply, but that's outside of this. Likewise with the library proposal, again, that was a private network. And so,
Library is different, but yeah.
and there, even though it was private network, there were USAC considering, and we put in for those as we did for Erie One postings. Didn't amount to much, fortunately.
That's good.
So
I have a question on the 71 sites.
Yeah.
I know we started with an original number, and then when we thought there was this municipal grant from Connect All, we went back and added some additional municipal
Then we went
sites.
back and redid them again.
Okay, so this does not include those extra municipal sites.
Some of them were stayed on because they should have been there to begin with.
Okay.
Some have been removed. but this is a very scrubbed list.
Okay.
This is 71 county sites.
Yeah.
Towns,
Yeah, there were some that's,
not just county sites.
no, these are county sites.
Just county sites, not,
Well, so here's a,
no
I
town
see we're
halls,
connecting to,
no town halls, no, now we're, some of the public safety sites,
yeah.
Yeah.
those PSAPs are in Hamburg
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Springville.
Right, physically.
Those are the police
But they're still,
stations that the county,
but they're
yeah,
county.
they're county PSAP.
Yeah, because only 2 of the PSAPs are actually county buildings, which would be the
Yeah, 45.
public safety campus on Elm Street and then,
Yeah.
Fire
the
training.
fire
You're just
training.
mean the PD, I bet,
Gotcha.
right, Dan at the bottom?
well, yeah, I saw the, the municipal names, so
Yeah, those are their police department.
police departments. And what are the, okay, Erie County, GZ,
Verizon circuits. These are the circuits that Mike wants to replace.
okay. Okay, so this is not the municipal building.
No, those will all be separate.
That's our next initiative and that is a good segue into my next topic.
Yeah, so Mike, I'll ask Mike to come back in.
Yeah, I got. Well, any questions on the
We're not.
higher use proposal?
We are, but at the end.
Okay.
Well, we can do the resolution now if you want. They'll have to
Might
leave
stay
you.
out there for
Yeah.
the rest of the-
But essentially, Mike has the capital funds in whatever county budget, ARPA budget he has allocated to him. Where he's comfortable with the investment.
But he doesn't make.
But there is one, this is important, I don't know if you have to read it. Mike had one stipulation in his negotiating. We have to have this network live before the circuits expire and on October 17th, 2025.
Deadlines are good.
So
Chop, chop.
absolutely. And when we say October 17th, it means we have to have it at least by October 1st to get 2 weeks of burn-in and transition. and all that.
Transitioning, turning on switches and off switches.
8 months, so,
Matt, before you move on to, I just want to let you know, H through K are all, NDA. So you just
H3K.
don't mention those by name. H through K is all NDAs. We have non-disclosures.
My notes, you mean?
Yeah. On your report.
Oh, okay, well, H, yeah. I didn't, on the affordable housing grant, I didn't name who we're talking with, just said,
No, I know, but it's on here somewhere. So I just want you to,
okay.
please be careful.
Yeah.
So you were gonna talk about the municipal.
Yeah, so on the rest, where I left off. So all the municipal IRUs are being, and these are all the town and village proposals. And they're being updated, and they're being prioritized by the ones that have already expressed stronger interest and have already communicated their desire for subordinate buildings to connect to ErieNet. And they'll be going out shortly. And then I'll talk more about the smaller towns and villages under the last item today, ISP strategy. The rest are things we've talked about in the past. There's an affordable housing grant. We're talking to a grant applicant about how we can support them. And we have some other initiatives in the works with some of the internet providers. So the other agenda item that we wanted to talk about today, it's not a resolution, but it's basically an update as to how we see ErieNet working with and attracting internet service providers. And I kind of broke it down into 2 initiatives. Initiative 1 is we have subscribers that are interested in a high-performing, competitive internet service. And then initiative 2 is kind of more of a overall goal for the county is we want to have more fiber to the home, fiber to the premise providers, especially in our smaller towns and villages. We have FiOS, and Spectrum has a limited amount of fiber optic infrastructure. Greenlight's coming into parts of Buffalo, but we wanted to have a solution. We want to attract fiber to the home providers wherever we can by leveraging ErieNet fiber to help it make for that smaller, more competitive ISP to be able to afford to come into a community. So that's initiative 2. I'll talk about initiative 1, and we're already doing initiative 1. It's basically the ISP, the internet provider, will lease or IRU ErieNet fiber to deliver their internet service to an ErieNet subscriber. So let's say we have a small village that's got their only property that they really have to manage is a village hall. And so we have ErieNet fiber going by them. Why would they want to connect to ErieNet? They don't have 6 other buildings that they have to have a wide area network for. So really, it's because they want a really good internet connection, maybe a more reliable internet connection, a redundant internet connection. And so it's not so much they want our fiber, they want that robust, competitive internet connection. So ErieNet does not want to get into the internet service business. It's one thing to do private networks, like we're talking about with NetSync. It's a whole nother level to get into end users with, people trying to figure out how they get their Wi-Fi working in their bedrooms and living rooms and
Email addresses.
it's just, we're not set up for that kind of an operation. But we understand that our customers want that. So again, for a lot of these smaller towns and villages, they have the incumbent cable TV provider, or the incumbent telephone provider to give them an internet quote. What we want to be able to do is say, now there's a third choice, and we're talking to several, what I would call wholesale internet providers. These are large interstate providers. And what where the enticement is, that provider will lease or IRU the internet fiber because they're the one who's going to manage the customer. And again, when that customer has issues seeing the internet, we don't want them calling us. Call the internet provider first. That internet provider is going to use their NOC, and if they think there's a problem with fiber, they're going to call us and we'll respond. But the ownership of the contract, and this is important, the ownership of the contract would stay with the internet provider. And so our customer becomes the internet provider. And if you remember back when I was doing the study and the assessment, that's what we want. We want to attract carriers to use our fiber. And this is one of the ways. So, and one of the things I think we should contemplate, like I said, we're already in discussions with some, but I think we should contemplate, and I don't know if it's through the Association of Government, or maybe it's a county RFP that the towns and villages can piggyback on. But if we could have a way that these ISP providers had established pricing, and we had the contract vehicle because it's been publicly bid, then it would make it much more straightforward to roll out the service. So that's another strategy we're looking to see if that holds water.
Why would the county do the RFP, not ErieNet?
Because if it could be ErieNet, but the county, I believe, through municipal law, Andrew's here, back me up on this if I'm off on a branch I shouldn't be, but I believe towns and villages can piggyback on county procurement contracts.
Well, they can do it.
If the contract was originally written that way.
it doesn't have to be county, it can be state,
Could be state,
federal, it could be another state, it just has to
could
be
be another
publicly bid.
municipality too.
Right.
It could be like Amherst does the
Yeah,
bid,
it doesn't
and then
have,
they
like,
can
you're right,
back off of that.
you're right, it doesn't have to be the county.
Yeah. They could do a consortium to the Association of Government through an RFP
Right.
process. There's a lot of ways
Right.
that we can look at.
What I don't think would work is if ErieNet just did an RFP to the service providers. I don't think that would count for the local municipalities to contract directly with us.
It potentially could, we could be considered semi-government. We'd have to look into that,
Look,
You just have to follow the municipal
which we do,
standards. yeah.
which we already do.
Just give them an OGS contract price.
That'll take a year and a half. Yeah. That's what-
But then anybody, any government or any agency could, or authority could purchase off of that.
Yeah, I think maybe we could look at.
So basically is how do we make this as easy as possible for our customers to use our fiber? But what they really want to use our fiber for is to get an internet connection. It's different. Grand Island wants to connect, 8 buildings. Tonawanda got 11. Amherst can't make up their mind how many, but they have several.
Mhm.
So larger towns, it just works itself logically, but the smaller ones, and it's also the larger businesses in town, they would be interested in competitive internet service. And then initiative 2 is more, how do we encourage more fiber to the premise providers in Erie County?
For residential.
For residential or
Small
small business, yeah. And there's a couple that are doing that now, but they're doing what everybody else does. They're going into the affluent neighborhoods with high density. And,
We want to
Still
try
want
to
to-
attract someone that will do the outer suburbs,
Sure.
the outer rural areas, yeah.
and we've been in discussions with 2 or 3 that have an interest. There really hasn't been anyone who wants to just blanket Erie County
Well, there's been a few inquiries.
inquiries. And,
I feel like in all of those meetings that we've been having, it's more, let's have this discussion in October when you're sleeping, so.
What about Google? I know we.
that was one of the inquiries.
That was one of them,
I
yeah.
mean, I know they've approached us in the past, or we approached them and they said they would pay somebody per pass address we asked or something along those lines.
Erie County is like,
Yeah, I know that. I'll let you know.
if you can, it's attractive if you can promise them all of Erie County, because then you're at around 1 million homes, right? Or 1 million people. I don't know. I don't remember the home count. But if you can't give them that, then we fall to a too small of a market.
Yeah.
We're just,
There's another national provider, and I think we have an.
there's a few, yep. Can't really say their names, but yeah.
It's not Voldemort. But yeah, so those are but to do that, they want some level of exclusivity. Sure.
But some just to that pricing.
Right.
So some would be interested in coming in and committing to the whole county if we can give them that pricing and guarantee it only to them. And that we wouldn't give that same pricing to someone else, as far as last mile residential small business. Which makes sense, because they would be coming in and making quite a bit of an investment, right?
Investment in that.
Yeah, because they would be building out, yeah, I mean, we're only gonna give them our fiber.
Yeah.
That, on these main roads, to the town halls and the libraries, and then they would be building it out, and so it's a big commitment. But again, that's just one of the options on the table, we just wanted to give you an update. Because once we start getting this built, then that ISP initiative will become a goal.
And that's really what people are gonna notice.
Well, yeah, it's like some of the radio hosts who just thinks that that's all we do is last mile, when it's not anything that we do, it's educating. But yes, for going back to when I initially even wanted to be a part of ErieNet, before not even an employee, just as a part of as a town supervisor. And an Eden town supervisor, I was very interested in ErieNet because it offered my town the opportunity to attract a small ISP or a different ISP other than what we have now, and to actually bring fiber to the town now. So that's a big big initiative for myself, knowing that that is a big need of our outer suburbs. That
And
it's not an option.
we're trying to figure out how we position ourselves with these smaller providers for the federal BEAD program, which is being reconstituted under the new administration. So we're not sure what the ground rules are yet and all of that.
And trying to, I guess, put vision on the fact that potentially BEAD funding could maybe be used for choice, not just for under and unserved. Because a lot of what our communities suffer from are choice. And so again, Eden as an example, it has one choice. And so we have to pay $80 for if we want, and it's not fiber. So, we're trying to find opportunities within some of the funding that's out there that will include, which Connect All does not at this point, will include last mile or middle mile, but also will look at it being a choice and affordability versus just unserved. All right. Anything else? Matt, any questions?
I always have more to say, unless there's any questions.
All right.
All right, so then we do have one thing that we're adding under new business, which we could do before you have to step out.
Yeah, well, I figured committee reports, we had one committee meeting since last, it was the
Yeah.
governance committee, and Karen, do you have anything?
So the primary thing is the video conferencing policy that in order to enact, we need to schedule a public hearing. Do you want to jump in here?
Yeah, sure, that's correct. So similar to other board policies, the board of directors will need to adopt the policy. Pursuant to section 103A of the Public Officers Law, which is the open meetings law, public entities are authorized to conduct meetings by video conferencing and allow members of that body to participate in video conferencing and actually participate in the meeting. As a prerequisite to adopting that policy, a public hearing needs to be held. So the public has an opportunity to comment on the proposed video conferencing policy. So what we'd be asking for today is just authorization from the board to allow Melissa to schedule a public hearing in furtherance of that policy.
And you don't have to be at the public hearing. I just have to be there, and then I would report any public that came and what was said or questions asked.
With the understanding that if there are any comments, the board would take those into consideration prior to adopting that policy.
But the plan would be to have this public hearing and then at the March governance meeting, pass the final version of all policy changes, but also the video conferencing policy, and recommend adoption by the full board at the annual meeting in March.
And just for context, the video conferencing would not, our meetings would mainly be required to be here in person. This would be for exceptional circumstances. So you're sick, you have a family member who's sick as an example. It doesn't even count as towards quorum. We have to have quorum, physical quorum in the room, but you would then be able to participate, which right now you can't. And so we would like the board to consider that policy, because we have had those circumstances come up where we've had board members who have joined us and they only can listen, they can't participate.
Does that allow for, even if you don't participate in quorum, does that allow for voting?
Yeah, you can
Okay,
vote.
so
You
you
don't
can count
count towards the quorum, but you can then participate and vote, yeah.
And then does your location have to be publicly noticed? So like
No,
currently.
you
at
just
least
have
the
to
way-
notify us that you won't be here. You're right. That is a public meeting law that we would have to say where that person is, but I don't think so in our.
Yeah, because usually when every location where someone in the meeting is participating needs to be publicly noticed, and theoretically,
Was that?
a member of the public could be like sitting in your home office with you.
No, I don't believe that has to be in this one.
I believe the requirement is that there just needs to be a physical meeting place where the
Okay.
public can attend, and there just has to be a quorum there.
Gotcha.
But I will confirm whether we do.
Okay.
To provide.
Yeah, because at least every time I've looked into that, that has been one of the bigger sticking points is nobody, the amount of effort it takes to confirm where everybody is going to be located. And then, I can appreciate.
The policy as read, and that is a policy that's been passed by like the ECIDA, does not say that we would have to put your physical address. You could be like, I have COVID. Does anyone want to come sit with
Oh,
me?
yeah,
in my house?"
it just seemed, it seemed like such
I
an
do remember
arbitrary
that, yeah.
thing that was such a non-starter.
Yeah.
It's, you know, unless you're in a public location itself, it was odd to turn a private location into a public location.
Any questions on that? Okay, then, there will be under new business, then Mike.
Yep.
Why don't you do that?
Finish, Jeremy, got anything else?
On the governance committee, no.
Okay, so unfinished business, there is no unfinished business. New business, we need a motion to authorize the executive director to set a public hearing for the video conferencing policy.
Second.
Discussion. Well, question.
Where are you gonna hold the public meeting?
Here, I'll do it here.
Any other
It'll
questions?
be the same time as the annual meeting in March.
No, I think we're gonna do it prior, because you don't have to be there.
Okay,
So, he's gonna look and see how many days we have to notice. I think it's 10 is my guess. And then I'll set it and I'll come. And then if there's any questions or any public that
we'll
comes,
do it on the 18th.
no, we'll do it before, so then we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
If since you don't have to be there, if you had to be there, we would do it then, but I only have to be. So.
Any other questions? Approval?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion carries. Next on the agenda, ISP program update.
We just did that.
Okay,
Happy to do it again.
It's okay.
well, we did the IRU for county public safety. Next is a resolution, which Mr. Toth, and I'll introduce myself again.
Yes, so the resolution is 2503. This is a resolution.
You should have to read the bolded. That's on.
Really need to, resolution of the ErieNet Local Development Corporation authorizing the issuance of a customer proposal to the county of Erie. Just
That's all I have to read.
so just for the record, so Mike Breeden is recusing himself from this vote because he will be the principal negotiator on behalf of the county. So just out of abundance of caution, he is recusing himself from the vote. So need a
Motion.
thank you, second.
Second.
Thank you, Martha. Any questions on this? This is what we discussed when Mike left 5 minutes ago. So he left again. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, Mike, you can come back in. Can you hear me? It'll be far.
Go to the bridge, it's warmer over there.
It's
The
freezing.
heat's rising up, so.
You just need to adjourn.
Yeah.
Mark already made the motion.
Motion, Mark, got it. Thanks, everyone.
All in favor?
All in favor, oh, sorry, I'm trying to get out of there.
All opposed?
All opposed,
Motion carries.
abstentions, motion carries.
Look at that, 2:59, just
Yeah,
under
great
an
job.
hour. Good job. Thank you, Mike, for sharing.
Well, it was funny, I didn't even know, I was like,
I would,
someone didn't warn me that it was.
you know, I didn't want to